All right. No, that's fine. It's okay. Thank you so much. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Uh, we have people joining from different parts of the world, of Africa and beyond. And we're really excited that you have joined us for this webinar. So today we have a webinar on cybersecurity, which is being conducted by ACI Africa. So ACI Africa is a grouping of African airports. We do have more than 250 airports in Africa that are joined together to ensure that they uplift the standards of aviation in terms of facilitation at African airports. We do have quite a number of committees that sit to try and improve how African airports operate. So today we specifically being led by the FTI, or the Facilitation Technology and Innovation Committee, which oversees the technology aspect of African airports. So it is going to be a very interesting conversation. And my name is Daniel Mchuchuti. I am currently the chairperson of the Cybersecurity Committee under the FTI. So before we begin, we just need to have a bit of housekeeping issues. Panel, I think the next slide is going to tell us about the issues that we just need to be aware of. So number one, we need to ensure that our microphones are off, our videos are off, and then at the far right corner, there is also an interpretation that will give us an option for either English or French. And if you do have questions that you'd want to ask, you just type them in the chat box that is shown below. So we will also make sure that the presentation is going to be shared once we have completed the webinar. So this webinar is also being recorded, so it will be available at your disposal so that at least you concentrate. So now you would realize that we as the ACI Africa, we are concerned with ensuring that we improve digitization. We also ensure that as we improve digitization and how technology shapes the African continent's airports, the cybersecurity comes into play. And because there are quite a lot of things that we need to look at, we do have regulation from ICAO on the other side, and we also have agility on the other side. So I also need to ensure that this webinar is going to be very fruitful. And today we are fortunate that we are joined with a very powerful panel, real practitioners, people who have been in airports for quite some time, people who have been in technology operation for quite some time, people who have been doing implementation of cybersecurity. So in our panel, we do have Mr. Andre Olago, who is the Director ICT at Le Breve Airport, which is in Gabon. We also do have Mr. Jonathan Muvindi, the Managing Director of Wire Speed Systems based in South Africa, who is also responsible for implementation of cybersecurity solutions across the globe. We also do have Mr. Stuart Rava, who is an Assistant Vice President, Cybersecurity. He has been doing quite a lot of technology in the past, from governance, risk assessment, and he's also going to help us. And we do also have Mr. Aaron Fremok, who is an application manager at Ghana Airports Private Limited, one astute developer who has developed airports, applications, and systems with enthusiasm. So, as we start, I just want to give a bit of context so that at least we appreciate the reason why we had to say we need to take cybersecurity across African airports and the region. So cybersecurity is not coming in just as a buzzword, but is coming in to ensure that the operational systems that we have across our airports, it's coming in to ensure that the standards that we are given by our governing body, ICAO, are also taken into consideration. You would know that as part of airport governance or aviation governance, ICAO has given annexures or annexes that we need to follow or that govern each and every area of operation within airports. And one of them is Annex 17, which ensures that airport security is regarded as one of the key elements that needs to be taken cognizance of. And Standard 491 of ICAO requires that every airport within the in the world should enable or should identify all the systems in its operations so that at least they identify the risks, they identify the type of data, and ensure that there are proactive measures to ensure that there is operational and technical governance within such. And there is also continuous improvement to ensure that there is no interference, which is deterrent to operationalization of airports. So, cybersecurity should be treated as one of the strategic pillars of how airports operate. So, I'm not going to boggle you with a lot of this because we want to make this as practical as it can. So the next slide is just going to give context to the kind of environments that we find our networks in that requires cybersecurity to be of top notch. So you would realize that whether it's a small airport, whether it's a big airport, whether it's a complex kind of an airport. So security is at the center of every airport in Africa or across the globe. And at any given point, we do have cloud facilities that require security. We do have every domain has got data protection regulations. So we've got information protection at play. We also do have compliance management that also needs to be managed. We also do have information governance. We need to ensure that within the organizations or airport, we have risk management as well as identity and access management within our airports. So as we proceed, you'd realize that as airports operate, we do have operational risks. We also do have compliance, which is always in conflict with the reality on the ground. So Banel, you assist me to go to the next, where we also talk about things that we have also proposed or things that we have also worked on as ACI Africa, the Cybersecurity Committee, where we are saying as African airports, we can still collaborate and ensure that we provide awareness and training, which is part and parcel of this website or webinar. We can also come together and immerse ourselves in research and development around cybersecurity and related technology. And obviously, as African airports, it's also a possibility that we come up with an integrated security operations center where we share intelligence insights to threats that we can also help each other as African airports to ensure that we improve and also we make our cybersecurity posture better. So with this, I would want us to start by looking at elements that are coming from our panelists. So we'll start with Andrea. Andrea, you've been in airport operations for quite some time. And we want you to tell us about some of the best practices that you have used for securing hybrid IT and OT environments in the airports that you have managed without compromising the efficiency of your operations.
Hi again, everyone. Thank you, Daniel, to give me the opportunity to attend this meeting and share my experience in cybersecurity with you all. So, to answer your question, as you just showed to us, I believe that cybersecurity has to cover as well as the physical aspect of the security and also the logical aspect of the security. Okay, so I can answer this question by sharing around 5, 6 points we have to focus on to say what are the best practices for securing hybrid and ITO environments. First of all, we need to have a proper classification of our assets. And I mean assets, you have also to include data inside this classification part. As part of the security controls, you need to have a proper network security and network segmentation. You also need to control the logical aspects of the security by implementing zero trust and privilege access management tools like multi-factor authentication to secure how can I say it in English? To have a stronger authentication part, okay, you also need to have like role-based access controller. Role-based access control is to ensure that all the external parties or third parties which needs to have access to your internal network or internal resources only have access to the resources they need to do their job. So we will be like segregation of duties, segregation of privileges, segregation of access. So we also need to have to ensure a proper monitoring of the network and information system perimeters. Like you have many tools like can do like who can do it. For us, we are using ICIM with Splunk, which is a very, very good tool to ensure a proper monitoring of the infrastructure system. You can also implement ICAO security controls, and you also have to do to perform regular risk assessment and patching. Okay, so in Gabon, we are doing it like every month. Every month, we have vulnerability assess management, and then we plan the patching of all the open vulnerabilities discovered. So from my part, I believe from these 5 to 6 points, that can be the best practices for securing our information system, Daniel.
Thank you so much. Quite interesting. Quite insightful. Very practical solutions and very elementary issues that have been highlighted there from for the foundational elements. Thank you so much, Andre. And part of the core business that ICT departments are dealing with in airport operations is to ensure that there are always systems. And now, looking at your experience in developing systems, Aaron, can you tell us how you have been able to ensure that there's a balance between development and ensuring that there is cybersecurity as you do your system development at the early stages?
All right, thank you, Daniel, for this opportunity to also share our experiences on how we secure our applications right from the start to finish. And we know that applications are the mediums through which we gather data. And, excuse me, data is it's said to be one of the now on their reference to data. You would there's a publication from Gartner, 2022 publication that said that data is an asset on a balance sheet, and applications are the mediums through which we gather this data. It's very critical, and going through applications, there's a standard way of implementing these solutions. If you are building the application in-house, then you need to stick to the software development life cycle, which has evolved. Traditionally, this software development life cycle was in a waterfall approach. So you finish one step before you move to the other step. Fortunately, as technology evolves, we've come to a point where we are integrating development with operations, where you are able to develop, test, and then roll out at the same time. And so in software development, we integrate security right at the onset. So your applications teams uh, um, are encouraged every time to make sure that all the security aspects of the solution is integrated right from the beginning. So you look at requirement gathering. What are the security aspects that has to be part of that software? In terms of development, you look at what tools are the software developers using to ensure that they are developing securely right from the onset. And because it's an iterative process, developing and then operation at the same time, as you offload the application to the production environment, you have the ops teams that are also checking and bringing back feedback. Now, if we fail to make this iterative and go by just the waterfall approach, then we would now be discovering vulnerabilities when the software is in production, and that becomes very costly. We've seen how airports have been disrupted because applications went down, a lot of flights canceled. And so we integrate development with operations and then security. So there's DevOps has evolved, and now we have DevSecOps. So where we have all the processes in developing applications encapsulated into the security cycle. So every step of the way, from requirement gathering, design, development, testing, production, we address confidentiality issues, integrity issues, availability issues by making sure that all the security requirements are clearly stated, and the software developers, the testers, the users are highlighting all the issues they find as part of the solution process. So we have DevOps, and now it's been evolved to DevSecOps, making sure that every step of the process we have integrated security. Now you realize that at airports, we mostly don't develop our critical application in-house. So if you pick AMS solutions like this, we pick them off the shelf and we customize them to suit our airport needs. And so during the procurement process, we should not forget to include all these security actions as part of the procurement process. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Great conversation around development, security, and operations. So you see the dimensions that an airport would have to collaborate. There is no longer an attitude of working in silos. The development team Aaron says, have to be together with the security team at the foundational levels. They also need to be working with operation team so that the rollout of any solution within an airport becomes flawless, and it also becomes easy even when it comes to troubleshooting and even ensuring that there is quite a lot of lines of defense that we need to prepare. Coming to you, Stuart, I know you have been working with different organizations, small organizations, large corporates, banking environment, telecommunications. You have seen it all, you have done it all. And one thing that I know is that you know that there is no one size fits all. And from this perspective, you have heard what the airports team have been talking about. You have implemented security. And now, one thing that we should not be taking away from cybersecurity is issues around intelligence. Now, can you tell us, in your experience, what role does intelligence sharing play in proactive threat mitigation, and how can African airports practically implement it?
Sure. Thanks, Daniel. Confirm you can hear me?
We can.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I guess to start, probably this is the part where I say, in African context, we always say it takes a village to raise a child, right? And I think it does apply in the context of our African cybersecurity, be it in any industry that you can speak of, aviation included, right? So maybe I can start by adding some context to, why we need to share threat intelligence, right? Because from an operational perspective as an airport, we are talking of, a landscape where biometrics, let's say, greet the passengers, where we have artificial intelligence coming in to screen cargoes. We came off data moving probably faster than the aircraft itself. And that means cybersecurity is not just another tick box, but it's practically a digital runway that facilitates how the airport operates, right? And at the heart of that digital runway is intelligence sharing. And the reason why we need to share intelligence is because it provides us with early warnings in terms of the things that we need to be aware of, and we pass that intelligence from one watchtower to another tower, right? So to add on top of that, you can see that in Africa generally, the African airports, they're sort of like engaging or boldly moving into a digital transformation era. And as you're stepping into that era, you see that security threats, they're also stepping, not just boldly to meet you, but also to up their game in terms of how they exploit vulnerabilities in the aviation space. And with that being said, you see that then intelligence becomes very important in flipping that script where we are not just turning airports into isolated digital islands, but then we keep them as a connected defense ecosystem. So one of the most important things in terms of why we need to share that intelligence, probably the early warnings that allows us to see what's coming before it lands in our hands, right? Because you see that with most cyber attacks, they don't just appear out of space. They echo IP blocks, there's malware signature, there's phishing templates, there's suspicious credential activity. And when, as airports, we detect those signals and share those signals among us, it gives us sort of like an early warning for us to be able to prepare for that. And I think would agree with me that it is that ability to be able to detect early that sort of like separates a catastrophe from something that is properly handled. And within the digital ecosystem of an airport, you see that every second that we save is more important, and it's pretty much separate the difference between an attack and something that is pretty much handled very well. And another issue is in terms of improved detection and response, right? When we share information, I know Aaron was talking about Splunk earlier. When we share information in terms of feeds, the rule sets that we use, and it's kind of sort of like helps our analysts to be able to filter for signal from noise. And when those SOCs operate with a shared pool of indicators of compromises, TTPs, behavior patterns, you took off adversaries, response time seems to drop drastically. And that's the fast intel that we need for us to be able to have fast action and response, right? The next thing that I will talk about is obviously the reason why we need to have collective defense in making Africa a harder target, right? You see that from the reports that we've been seeing all over the world. Africa has been like one of the top targets in terms of, some of the basic and elementary cybersecurity attacks. And we need to improve that collectively, because when we look at cyber criminals, we look at advanced persistent threats, we look at ransomware crews, they hunt for every easy entry point. And if the airports don't share to carry the intelligence, each one of them, they become a separate target. But when that pool of intelligence is put together, we become more of a continental baseline, and we raise that baseline. You ask yourself a question like, okay, how does a vulnerability exploited in Lagos won't surprise the team in Nairobi? Or how does a phishing campaign in Zimbabwe won't surprise or blindside the team at Johannesburg or Tambo Airport? And that's where collective defense come into place. And it makes us, as an African continent, sort of like hostile to attackers, because they know that we are sharing intelligence in real time. And I think the other thing that we also need to look at is in terms of how threat intelligence sort of like, strengthen national and regional cyber stability, because airports, as you all know, they're part of critical infrastructure for every nation. And when those attack hits us, they probably disrupt operations. And, it's probably important for us to have some level of national resilience within our airport. So this isn't just about IT or cybersecurity, but an issue of national stability and national interest. But then how can sort of like African airports implement practical sharing, which is, I think, probably the part that is fundamentally important to everyone in this conversation today, right? First thing first, I think we need to establish probably sort of like a regional aviation cyber intelligence hub, wherever could it be in South Africa, where we can sort of like secure, automate, and as part of that hub, we can put a place. It becomes a place where we can exchange threat indicators, real-time alerts, indicators of compromises, and best practices and lessons, as some has already been shared by Andre. And the next thing is in terms of, standardized data formats, because at the end of the day, tapping into what Aaron has already spoken about, system development and software development, all that stuff. It's pretty much important that is different airports in different regions, different locations, you speak the same language in terms of the data that you're sharing. Because tapping into what I've already said earlier in terms of us reducing the time that we detect and act, it can only be easy if we can sort of like come up with standardized formats in terms of the data that we are looking at, probably what we'd call context-rich alerts that allows us to diagnose those issues and act on them. Just, no misinterpretation, no guesswork, just a clean and sort of like actionable intel. And the other way as well is to connect airport SOCs into a shared network. I know this could be probably difficult from a jurisdiction perspective and from a data sovereign perspective, but something that we may need to look into in terms of, interconnecting that network. And then, once we have that connected continental grid, we are sharing those rich intel, we are receiving AI-driven insights, and we're correlating cross-border intel, and it becomes sort of like a living defense organization that we have. Another thing as well, which is also important, is for us to be able to train analysts and the frontline teams that we have in our IT departments and in our airports. Because the thing is, like, as you all agree with me, I think having started in technology myself in the first line of defense, technology is brilliant, but judgment is very ancient and irreplaceable, right? So we need to equip the people to be able to interpret signals, validate both threats, and be able to share the information confidently. And last but not least, we should be able to have clear governance and legal frameworks that allows us to have sort of like classification of controls, previous safeguards that ensure that airports can share information without fear, without any challenge of, let's say, leaks or political fallout, so to speak. And with that, I would say, if African airports, they truly want to be cyber resilient, then intelligence sharing is not just a luxury. It becomes sort of like part of the infrastructure, because that's how we stay ahead of threats instead of responding to them. It's how we turn scattered defenses into a unified shield. And that's how we ensure cybersecurity grows as fast as our digital transformation. Thank you.
Brilliant presentation there, Stuart. And all you'd agree that it takes a village to raise a child. And in Africa, I think for the longest of time, we've done this well. And I'll take it that it also takes ACI Africa to strengthen each other's airport security. And I believe this is one thing that we need to ensure, that we pull our resources together, perhaps we pull our intelligence together. Stuart speaks of why would perhaps a Zimbabwean airport be surprised by an attack that would have happened in Nigeria? But with our shared intelligence, or with collective defense, obviously anything that happens in Kenya would also make sure that people in Johannesburg are already aware, and obviously they become proactive. Thank you so much for these insights. And obviously, you know that in Africa, most of our power lines or our power grids are interconnected. So what is the challenge, or why will it be so difficult for us to also look at how we can pull together and have an interconnected cybersecurity grid that will enhance or help us to fight cyber threats together or collectively? Now, Jonathan, you have been in the game for quite some time. You have implemented governance systems. You have done risk assessment. You have done cybersecurity across the African continent, even outside Africa. Now, in your experience, Jonathan, how can airports implement threat intelligence sharing effectively?
Okay, good morning to some of you, and good afternoon to the others in the other parts of the continent. Daniel, thank you very much for affording me this opportunity to share my insights with the team, with the colleagues from across the continent. Yes, so threat intelligence, like the colleague before has highlighted, it rests on collaboration. So collaboration plays central role in ensuring that we share the threat intel across the different airports and even in other industry verticals. So the most important thing to start with in the issues around the implementation of threat intelligence would be starting small. Let's not start big, because I think the problem is always around too big, too fast. So let's do it step by step. Let's start by implementing some perhaps lightweight intelligence sharing groups where key stakeholders are involved around airport security, around national aviation authorities, the law enforcement agencies, so that through those small groups, we're able to align, we're able to have an understanding of suspicious IPs, phishing attempts, abnormal network scans, etc., like what the other colleague has said before, that what has hit our folks in Kenya should not repeat itself in perhaps in Botswana. So that integrated approach has to start very small, some kind of lightweight sharing mechanism. Then if we move from there, we can get now to perhaps adopt what would classify as a structured threat intelligence platform. For instance, where we share malware information. There's what are called MISPs, malware information sharing platforms. Some of them are open source, which enables us to share indications of compromise, threat actors, attack campaigns, etc., etc. Because the importance of this is to accelerate detection and ensuring intelligence is also actionable. So I think my colleague before has touched on this element that I want to also shed some light around, which is around building strong regional and cross-country partnerships. Daniel, you've mentioned the idea of an integrated grid around our energy networks. So the same thing can be done for the airports because our threats are not isolated. Threat actors generally target regions, not individual facilities. So it is important to build a strong regional and cross-country partnership. Collaborating with civil aviation authorities, collaboration with getting or gathering cross-border intelligence across neighboring countries for early warnings of threats, ransomware groups, etc., etc. That's very important. So the other very important aspect in operationalizing this threat intelligence is integrating it into our SOC environments, SOC, SOA environments. I think through our initiatives and opportunities, we see that most SOC environments are more of, white elephants, very huge investments. And if we can do a pen test, in most cases, they don't even see, they don't even have visibility over whatever is happening. So in order to make them much more effective, it is quite important to build in this shared intelligence into our SOC environments. So, and then I think I would say maybe to also emphasize on this issue of collaboration, the technology vendors, the McAfees, the Semantics, the Palo Altos, the checkpoints of this world. It is very important to forge strong partnerships with them as an integrated unit so that we have enriched global threat intelligence. The threat intelligence feeds from them, feed into our own African threat intelligence centers, and bring in, these AI-driven anomaly detections, and of course, push all this into our security operations centers. So I think to just hit the high points and summarize how this operationalization can be instituted. So let's start small and build trust. Let's adopt structured automated sharing platforms. Let's form regional and cross-sector partnerships. Let's integrate our intelligence into our security operations centers. Let's formalize collaboration and protect our shared data. And last but not least, leverage technology vendors to enhance situational awareness. So I think by and large, these are some of the elements that we might have to build into our strategy, into our operationalization in order to get the best from our threat intelligence. Thank you very much, Daniel and colleagues.
Wow. Thank you, Jonathan, for quite a mouthful. Uh, Colleagues, you have heard for yourself. We do not need to have a big bang approach, says Jonathan. We need to start small. We need to start from where we are and then grow. But of importance, Jonathan mentioned elements that are very key in terms of ensuring that there is collaboration within airports themselves. He also touched on the need to collaborate with technology vendors. And mind you, you'd realize that our business as airports is to ensure that we facilitate our passengers, we ensure that we do business around our airports, and technology is best known by those who are providing. So it's also important to make sure that we forge very fruitful and strong partnership with technology vendors so that at least we ensure that our cybersecurity postures improve. So as a region or as Africa, as a continent, it is important that we look at this. South Africa recently held G20 summit, which I've had with in my conversation with SA team. It was very successful, and they have also implemented very effective cybersecurity tools and cybersecurity systems, which we can still borrow, which we can learn from them, so that at least we also improve based on their experience. Aaron, you know that as African airports, one of the things that is key is we operate in a highly regulated environment. And what I need to know is from a cybersecurity perspective, how do we balance regulatory compliance that is coming from ICAO Annex 17 with ensuring that we have operational agility in this rapidly changing technological landscape?
All right, thank you, Daniel. So ICAO in Annex 17 gives us a recommended practice that puts responsibility on each state. Now, that responsibility is to ensure that our cyberspace is secure. Now, the responsibility and the onus now becomes the airport, working with its stakeholders and all the technology partners to ensure that we have a safe cyber environment. Now, when we take that bold step and to begin to implement what the recommended practice from ICAO, we do not work in isolation. We work using NIST frameworks, ISO certifications, so the airports and its stakeholders can embark on this journey of implementing all these standards that ensure that we have a smooth cyberspace, especially in our application environment. Now, our colleagues who have spoken ahead of me spoke about collaboration. Now, you know, in ACI Africa, we are also pushing for collaboration decision-making in all the airport. And it starts with stakeholders sharing data, connecting their systems with the airport and sharing data. And we need to be sure that each stakeholder, right from the airport, the ground handlers, the airlines, all these systems comply with the security framework that we established with the ICAO Annex 17 as a guide. We need to make sure that we are implementing interconnected systems that are secure. And talking about stakeholder collaboration, we realize that if there's one weekend, it affects the other because we are pushing for data sharing, interconnectivity, and operational collaborative environment. And so we use the ICAO Annex 17 as a guide, and each implementing state also comes up with its laws and regulations that guides what we do
in the airport space, especially in the application and data sharing environment. And this is where we can also leverage the African Airport Development Program. At ACI Africa, we have the African Airport Development Program, where each airport can benchmark another airport, go to learn how, say, AXA or Egypt or Mauritius is implementing interconnected applications using the ICAO Annex 17 as a guide. And so we need to collaborate a lot across airport collaboration, making sure that we have a very safe environment. Because if my applications are down and the airport is unable to operate, it goes a long way to affect the next connecting country where the airlines are moving from my airports to. And so we need to really take this ICAO Annex 17 seriously, but not in isolation, work with the state laws, and also as African airports collaborate, learn from each other, get to know what Daniel is implementing at Zimbabwe that we can also do at Ghana Airport and across the other airports. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Collaboration. It goes without mentioning. And you'd know that one of the biggest concerns around security is about budgeting. We do not have funding. Perhaps airports are running with limited budgets. The runway need to be patched. We need to ensure that we do have fire tenders to ensure that we comply. At the same time, cybersecurity is also one element that we need to ensure that we do at our airports. Now, Andre, tell me, you have been in the ICT operation for quite some time. You have done networking, you have done security. Now you are at strategy level. Can you share with us how can smaller airports with limited budget establish a scalable cyber resilient framework?
Thank you, Daniel, for your question. This question reminds me the first one we discussed regarding the best security practices. And I believe, first of all, we need to understand what is exactly the structure and the infrastructure of small airports. What are the strategic operational activities, operational technologies that needs to be continuously running. So we need to consider all these aspects before define a proper and scalable resilient cybersecurity framework. For me, there are a lot of standards in the market, but you need to align and define your own cybersecurity framework that will be aligned and meet your business needs, your business strategy, and as well as which can bring a sustainable cybersecurity plan for your airport. So for me, I can say you have to start from where you are, but you have to start also from available cyber program, first of all. And I will take the example of Libreville Airport. Since 1 year ago, we built a bypass road, okay, which is going along the fences of the airport. So from this road, you can access the airport if you are a very good athlete. That is possible. So for us, what we discussed, okay, so we did a review of the perimeter of the airport. Then we plan to implement a security perimeter system, but it is a very costly solution. And then what we suggested is to augment or to increase the height of the fences. So this comes to the second point I want to share with you, that we have to prioritize the defense of your critical operational technologies, like runway lightning, like the gates, the e-gates. And you have also to consider to secure the perimeter of the airport, which is very, very important, considering the physical security aspects of our cybersecurity program. So as Aaron said, he talked about ICAO standards. You also need to check around all the existing standard. There is ISO, there is ICAO security controls, there is also NIST, and you need to build among all these cyber security framework. You have to take the best standard, the best practices that can meet your business needs, that can be that can align with your airport infrastructure and the structure of your airport. So for me, NIST is a very good one, because it is based on the 6 core functions. That is the main goals of the cybersecurity. Like it is about governing, identifying, detecting, protecting, responding, and recovering. Then from that part, you need also to, how I said, you have to benchmark on the market. You know that you don't have so much budget, so you need to consider what can be the best open source solution available at free cost or at very low cost you can implement, and which can be aligned with the cybersecurity framework you already defined before that. And you have to consider this part to implement them also, because we know that we don't have the enough budget. That's the case for me also, so in our airport. So I can share something with you that we have a plan to implement or to reinforce the cyber security. So instead of doing it in 1 year, we did it in 2-year basis, because we have to bifurcate that cost this year, second year, and third year. So to achieve that cyber security goal. Okay, so I believe you can also consider the cloud security technologies. Okay, what can bring the cloud security technologies? Inherent scalability, automatic updates, and these cloud security solution often have also lower cost of ownership compared to on-premise hardware and software solution that requires constant maintenance, which is also something very costly. Okay, so but the most important thing is that you can have all these technologies, all these hardware, but you need also to invest on on training people, because most of the most important risk we have in cybersecurity come from internal. So we need to put in place a cybersecurity awareness and training program. So you have to invest in people, training them, teaching them, giving them awareness regarding, like someone said here, phishing, all these kind of security breaches. So what can I say? The most important thing around all of this is that you have to definitively build a sustainable cybersecurity framework for your airport, which is aligned to the business needs and the small budget your management will give to you. So that's all I can say on this question. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you so much, Andre. Quite important nuggets there in terms of budgeting and all these kind of requirements. People always argue to say we don't have money, but look, from what Andre is saying, he's saying start with whatever that you have. Understand your environment. You don't need to say an airport which facilitates 5 million passengers versus an airport that is facilitating 200,000 per year. Would you have the same kind of resources put in, but identify your key infrastructural needs and then work with what you have since budgetary constraints are always there. But one thing that you need to know is that threats do not really care whether you've got a budget or not. We still need to ensure that we have got defense. One more quick question, Stuart. I just want you to maybe look at one element, the human factor. Technology is one thing, but in your experience, how do we strengthen the human firewall? Just in a minute.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Daniel. My video hasn't started. Right. Thanks, Daniel. I think in terms of strengthening the human firewall, obviously, training and awareness is pretty much the fundamental tool that we need, because, like I said, technology is brilliant, but knowledge is something that has to be shared and transferred from one person to another. So we pretty much need to have security awareness training that is sort of like tailored to the specific cybersecurity elements in an aviation context that we need people to be aware of or to learn of, because at the end of the day, what we need is for people to be able to identify and spot all these vulnerabilities, challenges, and the issues that we're facing in cybersecurity. So bottom line is equip them with the knowledge, train them regularly, test that knowledge if needed, and that should do it.
Thank you so much. One last quick question to you, Jonathan. You have been doing cybersecurity for quite some time. And in your experience implementing cybersecurity, what has been the major challenges? Just in 1 minute.
Okay, no, thank you for that, Daniel. Yes, certainly we have been doing quite a number of implementations across different industry verticals. And the biggest problem that we face in there is not about the technology itself. The biggest challenge is organizational readiness. So you find that the cybersecurity tools, certainly they are mature, the people, the process and governance structured that will be required to operationalize, they tend to lag behind. There's a lot of pushbacks, resistance to new controls, difficulty in enforcing policies within the departments, and also from the technical side, a belief that cybersecurity slows productivity. So, for instance, one customer that we're rolling out a network access control, there was some kind of a tug of war between security and the network team. So when there's issues, when the NAC isolates devices that are non-compliant, etc., you would find there being some conflicts between security and NAC, to the extent that in the data center, we ended up completely removing the network access control there. So that's a big problem, that pushback. Skills gap is another big problem. There's talent shortage, and hence at WireSpeed Systems, we do a lot of trainings around cybersecurity to enhance and develop and bridge the skills gap. So we are in need of threat hunters, SOC analysts, and capable engineers to do integrations and automations. That's a big problem. And then the other issue around that is also fragmented processes and, siloed data, incident process being unclear, departments operating. There's no synchronization, to say the least, among the different divisions. And obviously, the intelligence we're talking about, in most cases, not even consumed to start off with. And also the executive is also one other barrier. There is usually no buy-in and visibility from executive. Understanding security from a position of a risk, as a business risk discipline, as opposed to just it being an IT function, it's a bit problematic. I think by and large, I think that's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. ICT people in this webinar should have skills to be able to present technical issues with easy. Look at it from a business risk perspective, not just going to the boardroom with tech jargon. That's how you can be heard, says Jonathan, so that at least we bridge. Training is also one thing that, in his experience in implementing cybersecurity, needs to be covered, which I believe African airports, we can also work together, collaborate to ensure that we cover this gap. Thank you, gentlemen, for this insightful conversation. I would want to open up to two questions from our attending guests. If we do have two burning questions, so that at least the panel can maybe touch as we conclude. Do we have a hand? All right. It seems that even in our chat boxes, we do not have burning questions, which it's a signal for two things. It's either the topic has been well covered without doubt, and African airports are going to implement with easy, or they are going to come into your inboxes to say, guys, I could not understand this and I was afraid to ask. But obviously, we do have the recording with us. And I would like to thank you, our panel. For this insightful discussion. Thank you so much for the time that you have invested in preparing this, and also to invest the time that you have invested in ensuring that the African continent, in terms of the airports, the cyber resilience, let this not be the only time that we talk about this. Let us continuously engage and discuss as African airports. We do have people who are in the implementation, or who are in the world doing the practical work of implementation. Let us collaborate and continue to work on strengthening the cybersecurity posture around our airports in Africa. And to everyone who has joined us today, thank you for your engagement, and thank you so much for being there. It would not have been a success if you had not taken your time to be part of the conversation. This webinar is a series of webinars that we have run in the African airports as ACI. And we also do have quite a number of resources. Banel, perhaps you can give me the other slide that talks about the resources that are at our disposal, so that at least we can access and ensure that we improve on our cyber security postures. The ACI Africa Secretariat, the FTI Committee, and the Cybersecurity Subcommittee are always available for support. So that at least in terms of assessment, in terms of benchmarking, in terms of, we can always organize, in terms of connecting you to industry experts, we can always do that. We do have quite a number of industry experts that we have worked with, that maybe AXA has worked with, that maybe Andre has worked with, Aaron has worked with quite a number. People who are verified that can also assist us in this journey that we are moving together. Otherwise, thank you so much. I'll leave this time to the Secretariat. Banel, over to you.
Thank you, Daniel. I don't have anything else to add. Just to thank you, you as a moderator and as a panelist, and thank all our participants for joining us today. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleagues.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.